Jagrata, Jai Masters. People need to look and see what they mean by spiritual, and what they mean by spiritual life. A whole bunch of it, for a lot of people, is, I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm going to die, and I'm afraid of what happens afterwards. And so spirituality, or religion, fills that void. How? By telling you what's going to happen afterwards. You're going to go to heaven, you're going to go to hell. If you behave, good things happen. If you don't behave, bad things happen. And they last for all eternity. Well, that creates a motive for you to go to church or synagogue or temple, periodically at least, and feel that you're covered. You got yourself covered, all right? So there's nothing wrong with that. Don't ever think anything's wrong. It's just not a very high understanding of spirituality. It's all about fear. It's all about desire, literally. I fear going to hell, I desire going to heaven. And because of my fears and desires, I'm going to pattern my life. So that's one level. Another level is, I understand that the quality of my life here, if I'm happy, if I'm doing well, if I feel love, life is much easier. And I can help people. And there's just a nice range in there that if I do well with myself, I will do well with other people, and I can create a better me, and I can create a better world. And people do spirituality that way, which is deeper than it being about what happens when you die, because it's about every moment of your life. It's about what you're doing. But it is still about you getting what you want, you getting love, you getting peace, you getting respect, you getting whatever. And that's where most, not all, but most spirituality, to the extent that people actually turn toward real spirituality, it's about learning to deal with yourself so you can be a nicer person, so you can attract love. And a lot of the stuff we talk about attraction has to do with that. If you get your mind together and get your heart together, you can attract good things to yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just another way of life. And it is spiritual compared to the rest of the ways that people live their life. It becomes about love, it becomes about peace, it becomes about giving. There's a whole nother level of spirituality, which is very rare, but maybe it's getting less rare, and that is this thing called liberation, this thing called enlightenment, this thing called understanding that you are not a human being. Someone said to me, it's not that you're a human being having a spiritual experience, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And that's the truth. You are a spiritual being. It's not you have to try to be. And this is the next level. The next level is understanding that it's not about getting what you want. It's not about going to heaven. It's not about going to hell. It's about, quote, going to God. It's about understanding that there is a reality of the infinite, a reality of the divine, not in the form of a person, but in the formless state, that which created all things. And it exists, it's conscious. And to know it, to get close to it, you realize it's not about getting close to it, I am it. It's not different than me, except that I'm looking away from that. And that's what true spirituality is about, is understanding you are God-descended. You are the divine consciousness. What does that mean? That your consciousness is only separate because you're looking at something separate. That's the best I can explain it to you, all right? Light during the day is everywhere. But if you take a magnifying glass, it focuses the light on one spot. And that spot becomes very powerful. It can start fires, it can do all kinds of things. But it's still the same light that is all over the place, okay? But you have focused it down to a point. And if you pay attention only to that point, to you, that's what's real. You don't have the realization that that exact same light is everywhere. That's the closest you can get to understanding these deep, deep spiritual truths, which is consciousness is everywhere. Another way I taught it sometimes, are you capable of being conscious of your foot, your left foot? Don't move. I just want to know, can you be conscious of your left foot? Feel it? You didn't touch it. What'd you do? You shifted your awareness to your left foot. You didn't move it, you didn't touch it, but you shifted your awareness, didn't you? Now shift it to your right foot. Can you be more aware of your right foot? Shift it to your nose. Can you be more aware of your nose? I hope you can. You're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. You're focusing your awareness, your consciousness, on a particular object of consciousness. If you did that constantly, and some people do, I'll give it to you, right? Let's say you focus your consciousness on your nose. If you focus your consciousness on your nose all the time, you'd be self-conscious about your nose. That's what it means, to be self-conscious. Your consciousness is focused on that object. On your hair, on your weight, on your nose, on your clothes. Yes or no? Can it do that? Can you put on clothes and then go to a party and you blew it? You're all dressed up and it's a slump party. You're slumped out and it's a dress-up party. How you doing? You're self-conscious about your clothes. You're self-conscious about your nose. If your foot hurts, you're self-conscious about your foot. You have the ability to put your consciousness, I was going to say, anywhere you want. You wish. It goes places, doesn't it? And there's reasons for that. So your consciousness focuses on things. Now, I had you focus on your left foot, your right foot, and your nose. Now, I want to know whether you can do this. Now be conscious of your entire body. Just don't focus anywhere particular. Just feel the whole thing. Legs, foot, arms, hands, nose. Yes or no? Can you feel it? Wow. So you are able to focus your consciousness or expand the focus of your consciousness. So what's that got to do with spirituality? The consciousness, the one consciousness. What does that mean? Omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. Well, those are big words. What does that mean? It's everywheres, all the time, just like your consciousness was on every part of the body instead of on one part, okay? It's all powerful, it created all things, and it's aware of itself. It's conscious. When you don't focus your consciousness on your body, when you don't focus the magnifying glass in front of the light that's everywhere, it ceases to be different. It ceases to be focused. What does it do? You used to say it expands. No, it does not expand. It ceases to contract. It was all everywhere. It contracted. Think of, again, the sun and the magnifying glass. It contracted down to a single point. But then that's all there is. That's all that's existing then. If you cease to contract it, don't say you expanded it. It was already expanded. It was already everywhere. That's how you need to understand true spirituality. You are already it. My Father and I are one. That's true of you. You are everything. Who you are that's listening to me right now is the highest thing I've walked the face of the earth. The trouble is that consciousness is focusing on your mind and on your heart and on your body and on what's coming in through your senses. Why? Why is it limited to that? It's not. It is not limited to that. Just like the sunshine, the light of the sun, is not limited to that point that the magnifying glass makes. But if you focus it, then that's what's there. You're paying attention. So your consciousness is completely focused on your thoughts. Try stopping them. Try not being conscious of your thoughts. Not a chance in the world. You'll be thinking about how to not be conscious of your thoughts. You are completely addicted to your thoughts, not to her thoughts. You don't know her thoughts, but you know your thoughts, don't you? Why? You are addicted to them. They mean more to you than anything in the whole universe. Your thoughts do. They mean more to you than God means to you. Why? If your thought says, I don't believe in God, you don't believe in God. If your thought said, I believe in God and I want to get close to God, then you want to believe in God, you want to get close to God. You need your thoughts to tell you. Those thoughts are distracting the consciousness that is one with the divine, is one with everything. It is I almost said it. It's not the expanded consciousness, it's the ceasing to be contracted consciousness. It's just the consciousness. But that consciousness, or at least part of it, is focusing on your thoughts. There's another part focusing on her thoughts and her thoughts and her thoughts, right? It's just looks at everything. It's everywhere. It looks at everything. So it's focusing on your thoughts, and it focuses on your heart. Why? Why? If your heart hurts, where's your consciousness? On your heart. That's a stupid place to put it. If I drop a hammer, I just showed you that you can move your consciousness from your left foot to your right foot. Drop a hammer on your left foot. Where's your consciousness? On the left foot. Put it on your right foot. That's a stupid place to put it. On the place that hurts the most. Why would you put your consciousness on the part that hurts? Put it on the part that doesn't hurt. You can't. Why? Consciousness is distracted by the loudest noise. If a big bang goes on out there, you're not listening to me. If a bright light goes, boom, you're going over there, aren't you? Consciousness gets distracted. What does distraction mean? Here, you're in school, old school, teacher has a ruler, hits it on the desk. Pay attention. What does that mean? Put your consciousness here. Where was it? On my thoughts, on my heart, on my emotions. It can go places, but it's always in me. And so you're told to focus your consciousness, pay attention, don't get distracted. Okay? You can't possibly put your attention somewhere and keep it there. It gets distracted by your thoughts. That's why you can't meditate. People call meditation struggling to not have thoughts. That's not meditation. That's struggling to not have thoughts. Meditation is that the thoughts that are there don't distract you. That's like saying, if you're sitting there meditating, quote, and you're listening to everything that's going on and paying attention to everything in the outside world, are you meditating? No, because the outside world from your senses is still distracting your consciousness to pay attention to that. Well, let's say you can get past that. Can you get past your thoughts distracting you? A lot harder, isn't it? Can you get past your emotions distracting you? All of a sudden you're sitting there, the consciousness gets distracted by the loudest noise. Well, your mind and your heart are the loudest noise going on. You are really, really, really addicted to paying attention to your thoughts and your heart. Okay? Why? Why is that the loudest noise? I don't care about your thoughts. They're right next to mine. You think her thoughts are right next to mine? There's a mental plane in which thoughts exist. You can make boats in your mind. You can have thoughts in your mind. You do whatever you want. They are intermingled with the person next to you. There is absolutely no differentiation between them. But you only see yours. A psychic can see others. Don't think that's weird. They're just not that completely addicted to their thoughts, and they can pick up somebody else's thoughts, and so on. It's not weird. What's weird is that we're so addicted to ourselves that that's all we pay attention to, is ourselves. Anybody want to admit that? That's all you pay attention to. And like these are the differences between deep spirituality and the pseudo-spirituality stuff, where somebody sits there and says, oh, you have these thoughts that you want something. I'll teach you how to get it. You can attract it to yourself. You can dress differently and get it. You can behave nicer and you'll get what you want. In other words, you're addicted to your thoughts. I'll help you get what they want. And that sells the spirituality. It's better than getting depressed. It's better than being unhappy. I want you to be happy. Follow whatever path you can. But I want to talk about the highest path. The highest path is, it is the fact that you're addicted to your thoughts is the problem, not the solution. If a drug addict is addicted to a drug and is going through withdrawal, get them the drug. They'll feel much better. That's not the solution, is it? Well, it's the same thing with your thoughts and your emotions. They're bothering you, therefore you're disturbed, therefore let's help you get what they want. Well, if you do that, you've pulled your consciousness more down into the addiction to your thoughts and emotions. You've reinforced that, just like the drug addict. If you get them the drug, sure, they'll feel better, but you're increasing the addiction. So the thought of how do I get what I want and avoid what I don't want in the higher level spirituality is a joke. Okay? The deep spirituality, one of the deepest writings ever written, is the third Zen patriarch. And all it needs is one line that says, the great way, meaning enlightenment, is not difficult for those who have no preferences. That is a complete truth. We can talk about it deeper, but that's the higher spirituality, which is you're staring at your preferences. And because you're staring at them, they bother you. All right? I don't have what I want. I'm afraid of having what I don't want. How about you? Well, it's called I'm human. The trouble is you say I'm only human. That's not true. You're staring at a human. You're staring at a human's thoughts. You who's staring at the thoughts, you are not human. You are divine consciousness. But you're staring at a human's limited thoughts and a human's limited emotions. So you have to decide, and that's why we have talks like this, which level do you want to live, not tomorrow, your life? Do you want to live your life trying to get what you want so you feel better, you're addicted to your thoughts and emotions? Do you want to live your life trying to get what your thoughts and emotions want so you feel better about your addiction? Or are you one of the rare great beings that says, I'd like to know what it'd be like to not be staring at me. I'd like to know what is the nature of the consciousness that is staring at my thoughts. Once asked Yogananda, I want to know God. He turned and nonchalantly said, He dwells right behind your every thought. That is so deep. What does that mean? What dwells behind your every thought? And don't say, I don't know, because you'll watch it say, I don't know. The consciousness is what dwells behind your every thought. You are aware of your thoughts, are you not? How? Because you're conscious. If you weren't conscious, you wouldn't be aware of your thoughts, would you? Okay? So basically, that's what dwells behind your thoughts. So the question is, are you going to devote your life to your thoughts and your emotions? This goes slower. You are devoting your life to your thoughts and emotions, are you not? I'm lonely and need to find somebody. I'm scared. I need bars in the windows. I don't like mosquitoes. I need to go to Arizona. But there's rattlesnakes. I don't like them. You have devoted your life to your thoughts and emotions. Say something nice to me, I'll follow you. Insult me, I'm out of here. Period. I've devoted my life to myself. I've devoted my life to my thoughts and emotions. There is a higher life. That's a spiritual life. There's a higher life, which says what? If I am divine consciousness, omnipresent throughout all of the universe, staring at this, whoa, that's a waste. So you realize that you have the right to devote your life to whatever you want. But it's hard. Like a drug addict has the right to stop the drug, don't they? You know they do. But it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. It's easier to give into it and do what you need to do to get your drugs, do what you need to do for your habits. It's the same thing inside. It's hard to get your consciousness off of your personal self, because your personal self is very noisy. Your personal self is extremely demanding. I want this. I want that. No, I want this. No, don't talk to him. I want this. Come on, doesn't it? All right? I don't want to go there. Just like a little 2-year-old. I don't want to go there. No, I'm not going there. I don't want to go there. He's just sitting there making noise. I want a new car. No, I want a new car. I need to get a good job. What job should I get? I don't like the job. That is not you. Those are your thoughts. Those are your emotions. They're not you. You're the one who's aware of your thoughts and aware of your emotions. Can you have an emotion that's yicky? Oh, I'm scared. I don't like this. And all of a sudden somebody shows up and you feel wonderful? How fast can that change? Then it's not you. You're still there, aren't you? Is it the same you if somebody sits there and says something to you that you don't feel comfortable with, and they all of a sudden say, no, I'm just playing with you. I love you with all my... And it goes boop, boop, like that, right or wrong. Did you experience both? You're there all the time, aren't you? Were you there yesterday? Were you in there last year? Now, if I go all the way back, you'll start to look at me weird. But when you were 5 years old and you look in the mirror, did you see what it looks like now? Was it you looking? Someday you're going to find out you've been in it the whole time. What you were looking at changed. The 5-year-old thoughts were very different than the 50-year-old thoughts. And your emotions totally different. Okay? But it's the same consciousness. The same awareness of being is looking at those thoughts and those emotions and looking out through those eyes. If you look this way, you see that. Do it. Look some direction. Now turn your head and look in a different direction. Is it still you that's seeing both things? Or is there a different you? So you are not what you're looking at. You are not what your thoughts are saying. You are not what your emotions are feeling. You are the consciousness that is aware of what's coming in from the outside world, and you're aware of the thoughts, and you're aware of the emotions. Now we're talking about real spirituality. Why? Because if you talk at that level, at some point you say, well, then who am I? Who is this that's looking at that? Not what is that and what do I do about it. The trouble is you don't have a choice. If your heart hurts or your heart feels wonderful, you're going there. And you know you are. Not always, all right, but it's a struggle, isn't it? If your thoughts start telling you, like my favorite thought, I love atheists. They're my favorite. I love that there's a thought in there saying, I don't believe in God. Who's watching that thought? Okay? So there's no difference. You say, I believe in God and I don't believe in God. They're just two thoughts that your mind can create. There's no difference. I want to make you feel better or something like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't believe in God or should believe in God, but I'm telling you, they're thoughts. What's aware of the thought? That is spirituality. Spirituality is not trying to convince your mind that God is real. Somebody once went to Ramakrishna, the great being above the door there. Somebody once asked him, turned out to be his spiritual son, once they got together, maybe heard the name Vivekananda, a very great being, was his disciple. And Vivekananda, when he was young, he was a college student in India, and he used to go from guru to guru to guru. And he'd go there, visit the ashrams, and he was very intellectual, and he'd insult the guru. Everyone asked, right, you're talking about God? Yes, son, we're talking about God, right? Do you know God? He'd put him on a spot like that. And the master would say, I have read the scriptures, or something like that. He said, no, do you know God? And none that he ran into would answer that question directly. Okay? You know, God is everywhere. No. Do you know God? He went to Ramakrishna's ashram. He sat down, the master was talking, and interrupted him and said, Master, do you know God? He looked at him and said, He is more real to me right now than you or anything else that exists. All right? That's called a knower of God. Can you actually know God? Yes. What does that mean? You should feel it flowing within you every second of your life. The Bible calls it the rush of holy waters. You literally feel Shakti pouring inside of you, Spirit pouring inside of you all the day, every single day, while you're sleeping, when you wake up in the morning, it's there, all going on. And by the way, that's not knowing God. That's knowing the power of God, the reflection of God. It gets way higher than that. So that's who you are. Christ said that. As I sit at the throne of my Father, so you sit at my throne. That's not a seat. It's a state of consciousness. All right? And these things that I do, you should do these even greater things. He said, my Father and I are one. That's what all the Masters said, the great enlightened ones. All right? Somebody once asked Mayor Baba, fully one of the highest beings walking the face of the earth, what is it like inside with you? He said, my consciousness used to be a drop that stared at my mind, my body, my emotions. That drop fell into the ocean. Find it. Take a drop of water and drop it into the ocean. Can you find it again? It does what we call merge. The word yoga means merger. It means union. That's literally Sanskrit. The word yoga means union. Yoga, the great deep spiritual teachings, are about letting your consciousness cease to be addicted to yourself and be drawn back into its source. And the source of your consciousness is the source of the universe. You're a very great being. And so it falls in. Somebody once asked Meher Baba again. He's sitting there fully glowing, emanating divine light. And I said, who are you? Who are you, Master? You know he said, I was in the beginning before all else was created. I will be in the end after all else falls away. There was never a time I was not. There will never be a time that I am not. And guess what? That's who you are. I don't care what you've ever done. I don't care it doesn't make any difference. All those things that your guilt and your fears and your shames and your desire, right? Those are things you're looking at. How do you know you feel guilty about something you did 5 years ago? Because I'm conscious of this thing called guilt. How do you know you have shame? How do you know that you hurt somebody and you feel terrible about it? Because your consciousness is looking at what still remains in your mind and your heart concerning that event. What happens when the consciousness transcends the human is no longer staring at your mind. It's all gone. There's no karma. There's nothing. The great scriptures say at the moment of enlightenment, all karmic scenes are burned. Now you understand why. You don't have karma. You do not have any karma, but you're staring at something that does. And if you're staring at that and you're addicted to staring at that, you might as well have karma. Because that's what you're staring at. And your life is what you're aware of. There's all kinds of things going on all over the universe you're not aware of. They're not part of your life, are they? Your life is tiny because you're just staring at yourself. And so you are carrying your karma, sins, karma, call it whatever you want, inside your mind, your heart, aren't you? They come back up all the time. You have dreams about them. Somebody says something, you start crying. It's all psychology. It's the stuff you stored in your psyche. You stored that in your mind, and you stored that in your heart. And Freud got it right. And Freud wasn't spiritual religious at all. I love him, though. He studied mind. He didn't study who's looking at the mind. I once, in my early days when I woke up, went to the graduate library at the university and I was in economics. I read Freud. Pulled down every Freud I could get my hands on to sit there. If he ever talked about the one that was watching the voice inside, you will not find one single thing in Freud that ever gives any indication that who's looking at all this. But he studied what it was looking at really, really good, right? And he watched and analyzed the mind and id, ego, superego, and all the different stuff he taught. He understood why the mind was the way it is, suppressions and all this kind of stuff, but he never asked who's looking. Okay, it's amazing. Some of the other ones did later on, right? Transpersonal psychology and all that kind of stuff. But basically, I think it's fascinating that you could spend that time studying the mind and never ask the question, who's conscious of this stuff? But that's the reality. So your karma, your sins, all that stuff, forget it. That's why Christ was able to walk around and say, I forgive your sin. He had big trouble for it, by the way. I forgive your sin, forgive your sins. But he basically says, if you believe in me, in other words, you're willing to let go of yourself, man must die to be. Every single thing Christ taught is what I'm talking about. Every single thing that Christ taught is the essence of deep spirituality. What do you think it means? You must die to be reborn. You have to stop staring at your own personal little self. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your little world, okay? And if you stop staring at that, you will be the consciousness that was staring at that, and you will be like Meher Baba, and that drop of consciousness will cease to focus itself like the magnifying glass. Remember, it's focusing. It will cease to do that, and it will fall back into the source of consciousness, which is, we call it enlightenment. That's true enlightenment, right? It is everything. Consciousness is everything. So basically, that's true spirituality. I thought we get a little taste. That is the highest state that's possible. Why would you not devote your life to the highest thing? Why not? You're going to die. You're going to die. The question is not whether you're going to die. The question is, what are you going to do with your time between your birth and your death? That time does not belong to your parents. It does not belong to your husband. It does not belong to your wife. It does not belong to your children. It belongs to you. It was given to you. You in there. You're in there. Hear me? You're in there looking out. What are you going to do with this minuscule amount of time between your birth and your death? People that are awoke realize, my God, it's not about having a family. There's nothing wrong with having a family. Let's get something straight. But it's not about having a family. It's about what are you devoting your life to. If you are the highest being to walk the face of the earth, but you're addicted to looking at your thoughts and your emotions, but who you are is, whoa, right? The greatest thing that ever was, you can bring light divine into this world and change everything, okay? Then what are you doing saying it's about having a family? It's not about not having a family. I don't know how to explain that to you. So don't get me wrong. It is not about not having a family. There's nothing wrong with having a family. It's part of life unfolding. Believe me, if you didn't try, it might still happen. Armadillos have families. I see the little things running around, all right? I doubt they thought about it. There's just a natural unfolding of life. The question is, what are you devoting your life to? Having a family, making money. Now let's get a little more personal. Impressing people, being liked, traveling so that I'm entertained, being able to build a big house and have lots of friends. Why? You're on a planet, I told you. You all know this by now. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. Stop. Will you please listen to that? 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun, and there are 300 billion stars in your galaxy, and the sun is one of them. So 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun, and the sun is one of 300 billion, and you care what somebody thinks about you during the few years that you're here. I hope that looks ridiculous. And by the way, it's not fun, is it? Why would you want to live like that? Why would you want to waste your precious time between your birth and your death doing that? Picking up how many likes on Facebook I can get. Or getting your name in print or doing something. There's nothing wrong with these things. No, seriously. If you were fully enlightened, those things might happen. There's nothing wrong with them. They're part of the natural process of life. Okay? But they are not what you devoted your life to. You devote your life to something much higher than just the natural process that happens in life. You devote your life to saying, if it's true that I'm in there looking at this mess, that's basically what it is. Come on, it's a mess, isn't it? All right? If I'm in there looking at this mess, do I have to be? Do I have to wait till I die? Like people want to know what happens after I die. Why do you care? What matters is what are you doing now? Don't you dare devote your life to your death. That's ridiculous. You just wasted your life. You have work to do here. You're here. This is life. What's the purpose of life? Life. You're supposed to be experiencing life. But the question is, at what level am I experiencing it? Because right now, you don't have a choice. If your heart hurts, you're going to do something to make that stop, aren't you? With all your power and all your will. That's what you're going to focus on, right? If your mind is bothering you, you're going to do what your mind tells you to do to try and feel better. Okay? It's going to pick on you and bother you until you do. So you're not free. You're addicted to the personal aspect of your being. Eventually you wake up and say, no, it's true I am addicted to the drug, but I don't want to be addicted to the drug. I don't have to be an alcoholic. You understand? People, I'm so proud of people that break away from that type of thing. Not that it's wrong, but there's a higher life than devoting your life to a drug or to alcohol. And so you find methodologies and will and different stuff of how to break that habit. It's the same thing with spirituality, but now you're not doing it with the habit of some external behavior. You're doing it with your own mind. You're doing it with the fact that I have a mind that's bothering me. And it's making me do what it says to do, so it stops bothering me. And guess what? It's telling me that you're the cause of it bothering me, so you better change. Okay? And you start looking at that, and it starts looking absurd. And especially if you say, is that what I'm going to do with my life? Trying to manipulate everybody and everything that I ever come in contact with, that they behave in a way that doesn't bother me. It is what you're doing, isn't it? And maybe they'll behave in a way that makes you feel good. Okay? And since I don't know if they will, I will manipulate them so that I can tend to get them to behave the way I want them to and never behave the way I don't. That is the life you are going to live if you don't pay attention. And the whole world supports you. It's all about getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want, isn't it? Well, spirituality doesn't say that. True spirituality says, wake up, realize as long as you are devoted to your mind and your heart, you're in trouble. Because they're in trouble. They want one thing 1 minute, and they want another. How long does it take? This is embarrassing. How long does it take for your heart to change from open to closed? I love you with all my heart. You did what? Get out of here. Did I exaggerate? Unfortunately, no. I did not exaggerate. It's called conditional love, conditional well-being. I'm okay as long as y'all are doing what I need you to do. And I ain't okay if you're not. Okay? And basically you wake up and realize you can't win that way. That's ridiculous. There's a much higher life. It's called transcendent. The ability to, I don't say withdraw your consciousness, to cease to be distracted by your thoughts and your heart. That's what it's about. Not fight to pull it out. To cease to be distracted. If you're not distracted by them, it doesn't matter that they're there. It doesn't matter what your mind says if you're not paying attention. Yukteswar, Yogananda's guru, very high being, one-liner. An ignored guest quickly leaves. That's deep. He's not talking about some household guest. He's sitting there saying, if you can sit in there conscious and have your mind say whatever it wants and couldn't care less and pay no attention to it, not fight, just literally, it doesn't know what it's talking about, but it talks a lot, doesn't it? You just realize, I don't have to listen to this thing. I'm consciousness. And not only am I consciousness, I've told you this before, Don't just think of consciousness as that which is watching your thoughts. Consciousness has a nature. It has a nature. What's its nature? Ecstasy. Consciousness is synonymous with nirvana, with ecstasy. Christ called it heaven. Buddha called it nirvana. That's where it is. Christ said, the kingdom is within you. The kingdom is within you. You who's looking. You who is in there. That's where it is. That clear enough for you? Consciousness is what we call Satchitananda. In the ancient scriptures, Upanishads, they call consciousness, your inner being, Satchitananda, eternal conscious ecstasy. It goes on forever. It will never cease to be. It is aware of itself, and itself is ecstasy. That's where the great ones went. That's who you are. If you're that, and you're down here trying to find that, forget eternal. You would take a second of it, okay? If you're trying to get people to behave the way you need them to so you can feel good, you got to work your butt off to try and make that happen. And how long does it last? How long does it last? Come on, tell me right now. All right? How long, like the actual blown away? How much of your life, how many breaths have you taken in your life that were in a state of ecstasy? That literally just wave upon wave of the most beautiful energy you ever experienced, like real love and the hug of the first kiss, just blown away. What percentage of the breaths that you have taken in your life were in that state? That's embarrassing. You hear me? That's embarrassing. But you like that state, don't you? And everything you do is to try and get something like that, right? It's inside of you. It's who you are. That is spirituality, where you realize, what am I doing? I'm out here trying to make something happen that makes me be okay, just relatively okay, when that which is so far beyond okay exists inside of me, but I'm looking in the opposite direction. I'm busy staring at that which is not okay and then going outside to try and do what it says so it can feel better, instead of ceasing to stare at that which is not okay and realizing I'm way beyond okay. I'm permanently in ecstasy. That's what the great ones tried to teach you. That's what Buddha tried to teach you. Buddhist teachings are extremely deep. What did Buddha say? He went the opposite way. All of life is suffering. What do you mean I don't suffer all the time? Oh, yes, you do so. Let's put it this way. You try not to suffer, and sometimes you're pretty good at it. You get someone to like you so you're not suffering being lonely. You earn some money so you feel like you're secure. In other words, you're suffering, but you compensated for it. But you're still suffering. If in the moment that condition changed, that's the end of it. All right? Be careful. What are you devoting your life to? Because that's rather temporal, isn't it? That's what Buddha taught. First noble truth. All of life is suffering. But then Buddha did something really amazing. He said, there is one cause of all suffering. It's not old age. It's not poverty. It's not disrespect. It's not dying. There's one single cause of all suffering. The second noble truth is the cause of suffering is preference. It's generally translated as desire, but many of his patriarchs and following deep Buddhist teachings, what is a desire? A preference. A desire is a preference, a strong preference, right? He said any preference. If you have a preference, you will suffer. Now, and that's tough for us to listen to. We're full of preferences. We can't even imagine what it would be like to live a life without preferences. But let's take a look at what Buddha told you. Buddha told you if you don't mind dying, you won't suffer. If you don't mind getting sick, you won't suffer. If you don't mind being poor, you won't suffer. If you don't have a preference, you will not suffer. I know it's inconceivable. I'm not telling you to do it. I just taking the logic of what that amazing being found out with all his meditation, starving himself and everything. Then he came back and he said, I have found the cause of suffering. And he said the cause of suffering is preference. Okay? So he just said that if you don't have a preference, then you don't suffer when something happens. I don't mind it hot, then you don't suffer. I don't mind the rain, then you don't suffer. I don't mind the driver in front of me not using their blinker, they're driving too slow. I don't mind, then you don't suffer. And the antithesis of that is, I do mind the rain, then I suffer. I do mind the heat, then I suffer. I do mind how the driver in front of me is driving, then I suffer. In other words, it's so deep that we can't even handle it. That's how true it is. We're having a deep talk. I want to take a minute. Do you understand? It's socially unacceptable. You don't want to talk about it, but isn't it true? Is it true or not? People have traumatic experiences. What is a traumatic experience? An experience that happened that I couldn't handle. Somebody else could have the same experience. There are people who go over, I'm not picking on anybody, believe me, I'm not judging, right? And I'm close. There are people who go to war and get shot at, and it's a traumatic experience. I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Bullets flying by, and they can't sleep ever again, and they're not okay. They have PTSD, right? They got traumatic experience. There are other people that sign up for more. So it is not the experience, it's you have a preference. I don't want to experience this. If you don't want to experience bad enough, it's hard to deal with, isn't it? If you couldn't care less about it, it's not. Buddha has told the truth, but it is a truth that is so against the human way of thinking that no one wants to deal with it. You understand that? So, all life is suffering. First noble truth. Second noble truth. The cause of suffering is preference, desire. Third noble truth. To end suffering, stop it. To end suffering, end preference. Now that's, I don't really like to talk about it. It's so against our concepts. But he's right, isn't he? I saw the Dalai Lama once on a TV show. I was just browsing years and years ago, just surfing through some channels, and all of a sudden there's the Dalai Lama being interviewed. And, the Dalai Lama's been through some stuff. What China did over there in Tibet was not so nice. That was for his people. Right? He's the head of the Tibetan Buddhists, and they're killing them and burning temples and all kinds of stuff. And this interviewer asked him, what about what's going on in Tibet with the Chinese? And he started laughing. It was a very fake laugh, put on laugh, but he went, ha, 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 ha. And she said, why are you laughing? He said, because our tradition is that there shouldn't be anything that happens down here on this earth that is so serious to you that you can't understand it's not important. In other words, great was not difficult for those under preferences. In other words, the cause of suffering is desire. And he's the head of this entire Buddhist tradition. And he's just showing you, even that I'm able to look at for what it is. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And there's 3 billion suns in your galaxy. And there's 2 trillion galaxies. What exactly is bothering you? You know what's bothering you? Your mind. Do you understand that? We're having a deep talk. We said we're going to talk about deep spirituality. This is deep spirituality. It's frightening. Okay? You can't even conceive of such a state, but it's real. But it's not like you think. It's not cold. The great beings who reach these states of transcending the personal are the ones who brought the most beauty down into the world. It's like, if you need things to be a certain way, you're a taker. You're out there trying to change the moments in front of you so they be the way you need them to be. I call it manipulation. Not a nice word, but it is. The day that you're okay inside, and okay, I've defined okay for you, you're in ecstasy. You wake up in ecstasy, you're all day in ecstasy, you're just filled with love. Again, who said that? Christ. What did he say? Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that leaveth the mouth of God. It means you don't just live off the experience that are happening outside to get your juice. There's juice flowing in there constantly and feeding you all the time, raising you up, free of charge, non-conditional, by every word that leaveth the mouth of God. So basically, if you're experiencing that and you come into this world, you're a giver. You don't think of yourself as giving, but if you're not taking and somebody needs something, you help them. Why not? You don't need anything back. You know why you don't need anything back? Because you don't need anything. I'm talking about real spirituality. It's not like, I'm renouncing, I'm giving things up to take care of you. No. I have everything in the whole world. It's abundant. I have nothing, right? Of course you can have some. Why? It doesn't go away when I give it to you. That's a true giver. So now you're not taking from the world, you're giving to the world. So just everything I talk to you about sits there and says, what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to literally devote your life to the part that's not okay and go out there and struggle with everything and everybody every moment to try and make it be the way that you feel better? Or do you want to do the work on yourself to say, I can do better than that? You're going to say there's a river of joy that flows inside of you. There is. Do you want to melt in the arms of your beloved? You like that? Right? Would you like to just completely melt and not even be there and just experience the beauty of that love? How about living there all the time? no matter what happens, and it will never go away, no matter what anybody does, ever. That sound like worth devoting your life to? That is the spiritual journey. That's what you're talking about. So then the question doesn't become, okay, I want to do that. How does one do that? There, now that's the spiritual question, right? Yes, I understand. Yes, that's better than what I've been doing. Begging, stealing, doing whatever I can to get some juice. It's like, how does one reach a state like that? Understanding how is not difficult. Doing it depends on the level of your commitment, all right? How is very, very simple. You first ask, why do I care what my mind has to say? You're going to find out you really do care what your mind has to say. And it's hard not to. Why? Because you've had past experiences in your life that bothered you, that hurt you, and you did not handle them well. They didn't just come in and pass through. You didn't do what Christ did. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Did you? You said, no, you're not going to do that. No way. I'm not tolerating that. You're not doing that. It's wrong, and it hurt me, and you shouldn't have done that, and you're going to pay for that. That's a little different than what he said. All right? And so basically when you did that, what were you doing? You were resisting the experience. He did not resist the experience, did he? Forgive the Lord and know what to do. Not my will, but thy will. So the net result is you did not handle these experiences. I'm not blaming you, not judging. All right? There were experiences that happened in your life that you didn't handle well. Now let me define handling it well. It came and it went. You yelled at me, it hurt me, and now it's gone. Of course, you yell at me, say mean things, you had a bad day, it's going to feel bad. There's humanness in there. But it doesn't have to be there 5 minutes later when you come back and you're in a better mood. Let's have fun. I don't have to hold it against you. Apologize. You hurt me. You understand? You better never do it again. Because you didn't handle it. You have to own the fact that you didn't handle it. But what was really terrible? Terrible things happen. Look at Ukraine right now. Look at what Hitler did to the Jews. If you haven't noticed, terrible things happen in this world. I don't care whether they should or shouldn't, if they're right or wrong or just. They happen, don't they? The question is not do they happen. The question is can you handle what happened to you? Because guess what? If it happened, you don't have a choice. It already happened. It's something that happened. Can it feel bad? Of course it feels bad. Of course it's sad. Of course it's difficult. But you don't have to keep it inside of you for the rest of your life. I told you, if you drop a hammer on your left foot, put your caution on your right foot, don't put it on your left foot. If something happens in your life that's uncomfortable, why would you store it? Why would you let that be what's inside of you? Why would you pollute your psyche, your mind, and your heart with the worst thing that ever happened to you? Doesn't make sense, does it? It happened. It's not happening anymore. That was years and years ago. Why is it still in there? Because I couldn't handle it, and no one ever told me I should have been able to, and no one taught me how to handle it. Can you learn to handle the true reality of the events that happen in your life? Yes. But there's no but. You don't have a choice. It happened. So you're either going to store it so it bothers you for the rest of your life, or you're going to say, okay, it happened. I'm going to learn how to let it go. And that becomes how you work with freeing yourself. It's very real. The reason your consciousness is addicted to your mind is because you didn't handle the situation that happened and you stored them all in there. And so now you're scared to death it's going to happen again or that something will go wrong, aren't you? It's a constant fear that why? I'll tell you right now, if I was afraid of a rattlesnake and I stored every single rattlesnake I ever saw in the zoo, out here, anything like that, inside of my head, that's not nice in there. I'm not going to take walks in the woods because I did that. You did this. You didn't handle the events that happened to you, and you pushed them away so they stayed inside. And now they're creating your thoughts and your emotions. Somebody say one word, rattlesnake. Ah. Baby rattle. Ah. Well, we get it down to reality. You had a beautiful marriage, so it was terrible, okay? And his name was George. And you got divorced 3 years ago, And it was not a nice divorce. Most divorces aren't very nice, okay? And 3 years ago, and you go to a party, you're doing great, having fun, and all of a sudden somebody, and by the way, the party's in Arizona, and you live in Florida, and you're in Arizona, and somebody yells out, George, George. Your heart goes, you stored that inside of you. So it is going to continue to bother you. So was that an intelligent thing to do, to store that inside of you? Wouldn't it be nice to just handle it, let it pass? Okay, George gone, bye-bye. Now we can be open. That's how you grow spiritually. You don't fight with your mind. You don't rip it away, okay? So therefore, I know you can't understand if somebody says the great way is not difficult if those are no preferences, because you have serious preferences. You don't try to rip your preferences away. I don't want you to do that. I want you to look at the cause of your preferences. You have preferences because you've had trouble. You've had nice experiences and bad experiences in your life, and they created your preferences, didn't they? I want this to happen again. I don't want that one to ever happen again. If you let go of the experiences and let them pass through and be natural and normal, yes, this happened. Yes, we got married and it didn't work out so good, but I learned a lot from it, and I really respect that this was a situation I went through, okay? I'm not afraid to date anymore. I'm not afraid to get married again. I'm not afraid of anything. That's called handling what happened to you instead of suppressing it and keeping it inside of you so it makes a mess of your psyche. If you do that, the consciousness, the great consciousness, is not distracted by your thoughts. If your thought goes, oh, there's a flower, or if your thought goes, oh, look, there's an airplane, you don't get distracted by that. You get distracted by, there's an airplane and somebody died, and I read it. You hear me? You made these things power. You give power to them that they don't need. And then basically, as you let go of the stuff you stored inside, your consciousness gets liberated naturally. This is the natural path. It's not a fight or a struggle. You sit there and say, I don't need this stuff inside of me. And then you say, well, you look at me and say, well, you don't understand. There's some serious stuff in there. I don't know how to let it go. I know you don't. It's not hard to teach what to do. Now you understand. If you could let go of all that stuff that happened before and not put any more in there, you're free. Your mind and your heart will not distract your consciousness like it does now. And it'll be very easy for the consciousness to float back. It will just float back naturally. You don't have to do anything. I don't know how to. I know you don't know how to. Therefore, you practice. As I always teach you. I always get somewhere in my talks, right? I know you don't know how to let go of that divorce. I know you don't know how to let go of what mommy did. I know. I understand. I understand. Believe me. I have compassion. I understand. But can we learn? Do we have to just say, no, I can't do that? That means I'm not able to do that? Or you sit there, well, is there a way to learn how to do it? You learn to play tennis. You learn to play the piano. You learn calculus. You learn all kinds of stuff, don't you? Can you learn to handle the moments that are unfolding in front of you? And what you do is you start with the today's moments that are small. The driver in front of you, the weather, the rain, the fact that the hair didn't come out exactly the way you thought it was supposed to, the fact that somebody didn't say hello, oh my God, that'll freak you out. A friend walked by, hey Sally, she kept walking, oh my God, I can't handle that, right? Just little tiny things. Can you practice letting go? Can you practice saying, I can handle that? That's your mantra. I can handle that. I can handle that. And you just relax. I teach you, if it starts to get tense, and it will, relax. Like having a massage. When they hit a soft spot, you say, there, right there, more. Don't you? You don't get up and run away. Same thing inside. If it starts to feel a little weird, good. That means it's time to learn to let go. And what will happen if you do this with little things, just, I don't care how little they are, just start there and relax. And you're going to find out, then do the next one. Then to the next level, then the next level. And over time, you're going to find out, gee, I'm handling stuff I've never handled before. People write us from all over the world. And 80% of every single thing we get is thank you. Period. Thank you. This changed my life. I didn't change anybody's life. I just talked to you honestly. And obviously, if you learn to let go, your life is going to be better. Why? Because the things that used to bother you don't bother you. You have the right to learn these things. And the next thing you're going to know, bigger things will come up. And you're going to find out that you can let go of those. Why? You learned. You know, when you play the scales on the piano, eventually you can play Twinkle Twinkle. If you play those scales, you'll be able to Twinkle Twinkle. And next thing you know, you're playing Beethoven. Because you learned. I want you to learn to let go. That is true spiritual growth. If you will let go of this garbage and not put any more in, you're going to find out your consciousness is not being drawn down because you kind of took away the power. Right now your thoughts have power, don't they? I don't want that to happen. I need this. Oh, they have great power. And your whole consciousness is full there. Eventually they won't have that power. They'll just be little thoughts. Little thoughts. Right? Just bumping through. And maybe even you'll all of a sudden think, oh boy, remember when we got divorced? And it won't do anything. Yeah, right. It doesn't matter. Would you like that? Okay, you can do that. You just learn to let go of the little things and the bigger things. And I'm telling you, next thing, even if that would be enough if you got to have that freedom from yourself. But that's not what happens. What happens is because the consciousness is not being drawn down into these power-packed thoughts and emotions, you start to feel something beautiful inside of you. And I'm glad we talked about it. Some people write me, I felt all this energy shoot up inside. Yeah, you're a very great being. You have a lot of energy, period. And you start feeling it. And you feel joy for no reason. You hear a bird, and your heart bursts open more than it did when your lover showed up. Well, that's not bad, is it? That's because you're drifting back into the Shakti. You're drifting back into the spirit. And then it gets more and more, and there's no end to how high you are and how high you can be. So you're a very great being. Don't sell yourself short. Very good. Jagrath.